Matthew Stuckey here from Verity Baptist Church Manila and Verity Baptist Church Pampanga. And so this past week we had 43 salvations, 37 in Manila, 6 in Pampanga. If you've kept up with our missionary updates, this is the most salvations we've had in a very long time. And so that's great because obviously due to the restrictions and checkpoints and things like that, it's been very difficult, but things have been picking up. People are finding more open areas. We're getting people saved, and things are starting to calm down quite a bit. And it's really returning back to normal for the most part. And our country just recently said that although the cases are rising of the coronavirus, they can't just forget about the economy forever. And so that's good news, because I would like to see our country completely open up, or at least open up more. I think it would be a good idea, but obviously that's out of my hands. But July 15th is the date where we're supposed to switch to MGCQ. So I hope that it will switch to MGCQ. Things have definitely lightened and loosened up a little bit. We have many church families that have not been able to come to church for months and months, and they've just been on live stream only. Obviously, we stay in touch with them the best we can, but obviously that's not a perfect substitute for church. Also, our families in Pampanga, as they've been on live stream only for quite a bit of time. We actually were able to deliver some relief goods on Saturday, and we went down and saw the brethren in Pampanga, so that's good, and they're doing well. And their spirits are high. They're watching all the services. They're still going soul winning and serving God. So that's great. We would love to see it open up so we could go down every week again and have all the services in person. But things are going well over here overall. Things are definitely opening up. I continued the series on the Protestant Reformation, and I had taken a couple-week break, and then a week ago I preached a sermon on the John Calvin branch, which was the longest sermon I've ever preached. Everybody who's listened to me preach before, you guys know how much I love Calvinism, and so I kind of went on and on and on in that sermon, and it felt like it was only 20 minutes because I was ranting and preaching against Calvinism and things like that. But then the sermon this Sunday was pretty long also, and it could have actually gone over that if I hadn't cut out some material. It was on the Anabaptists. There's a lot of information I wanted to prove. I read from a lot of articles. And so the purpose of the sermon was to show that the Baptists are the Anabaptists. We are the modern-day Anabaptists. And so there's a false narrative that the Mennonites are the modern-day Anabaptists, and they claim to be, but they're not. And I proved that in the sermon both logically and biblically. And I also proved that the Baptists today are not Protestants. Now, that being said, of course, there were some Anabaptists that preached a work salvation 500 years ago, just like there's Baptists today that preach a work salvation. Of course, there were some Anabaptists that had some false practices or beliefs. That doesn't mean, and I don't deny the fact, I do believe the Mennonites split off from the Anabaptists, but they split off and formed a false religion, preaching a false gospel. And I grew up near Mennonite country. I've been to Lancaster, Pennsylvania many times in my life. I love Lancaster. I loved going there for soccer tournaments as a kid. I've watched the documentaries and been to the museums and everything for the Amish and Mennonites, eaten at their restaurants and everything like that. I love the area. They're incredibly friendly people. But that doesn't change the fact that both the Mennonites and Amish are preaching a false gospel. And so we had 2 more sermons in the series, kind of false branches of Baptists today that claim to be the heritage, which they're not. They're preaching a false gospel, and they're not the ones that actually derive from the Anabaptists. They're teaching different things. But, I just decided I think I'm going to preach one more sermon after that on the Mennonites. And, of course, in every sermon we use a lot of Bible, but I wanted to go kind of more in depth and just prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Mennonites are not the modern-day Anabaptists, and explain the problems with their religion. And, they operate very much like a cult, both the Mennonites and the Amish. The Amish more so, but also many of the Mennonite communities. So I'm going to talk about that, I think, and have one more sermon in that series. So it's been a great series to understand our Baptist heritage. And so we're also continuing through the book of Romans, as that's been our memorization. We decided we're going to take the Lord's Supper in a couple weeks. So next week I'll preach on the Lord's Supper. We'll take a break from the book of Romans. And then on Wednesdays we're continuing through the book of Revelation. We just got through the halfway point. We're going to be in chapter 13 tomorrow. And so things are going well out here. We can't complain. We're still able to serve God, even though it's been more difficult. We haven't found large parks that are open for our all-day soul winning on Saturday. We've been going all-day soul winning door to door, which is great. We just don't get as many people saved. There are some areas where people are out and about where there's a lot of people to talk to, but just not enough to send a whole church group. One of our members has been going soul winning in an area, and I want to check it out this week, where there's people kind of hanging out during the day, and it might be a good area to talk to people. But as of now, it's not really an area where we can send, a dozen soul winners for the day or anything like that. So anyways, just continue to pray for our church and pray things will open up, and they're starting to, which is good. And just pray for all of our members and things like that. And anyways, thank you and God bless.